Well, 11 months later, and here I am, finally turning the mic back on. I know many of you probably thought this video would never come, and that I'd quietly join the indie game dev graveyard. But here we are, and I have so much to share with you today. For starters, I took quite a long break from my last vlog back in January to focus on school. I graduated back in April, and then just focused on working as I was still a little bit burnt out from developing. It wasn't until May when I finally opened up Unity again, and it was difficult to regain the initial direction that I had in my head. So it's safe to say that not much really got done at that time. Fast forward to June, and I'm looking for apartments in London to move into in just a few weeks. This takes up a lot of time searching and viewing, so there goes another month of minimal to no work being done. But things start to look up. I moved into my apartment, and well, yeah, that's the extent of that. I spent the next 2 weeks or so trying to find a job, at which I finally landed one that would ultimately be enough to support me. This is where things really started to look up. I had started mentioning my game dev dreams and goals to those around me, and it really sparked something back up. I would then spend the next few months using most of my free time getting back into the game development workflow, bouncing ideas back and forth with those at work, and I honestly couldn't thank them enough for really pushing me to keep going and to finally get this vlog out to all of you. A lot has been done, but I don't really have any footage of me creating anything, so you all just get to see the finished products. The first thing I did was actually change my hub world once again. I know. Definitely not a priority, but I know it helps me with game direction. I really like this fantasy village layout I found online, so I started with shaping the land to have a similar layout. The main issue I had with my last world layout was the lack of elevation, and I enjoyed this one a lot more. Although, if given the opportunity, I would change it again to something better. But not anytime soon. I need to focus on getting this game playable. I knew I needed buildings to flesh out the hub world, so I started creating a modular building set. It's functional, but not perfect. I'll improve it down the line. To speed up the process, I also made a modular builder tool. It's a bit clunky right now, but it saved me time from placing buildings and props. Sometimes, efficiency trumps elegance. Now let's talk about some bigger updates. I've made significant changes to the game design, starting with the enemies. Inspired by conversations with friends and coworkers, I've decided to make all the enemies frog or amphibian based. And to start that off, I'm sure all of you have noticed the new player frog. I took it upon myself to recreate the player model, and wow, what a difference. I also went ahead and created one of the frog enemies, a large tank-like frog that uses a longsword to deal slow but heavy hits. The AI is still a work in progress, as I've had to make a bunch of tweaks from the last AI that I built, but I will get it into a state that's fun to fight against. The next enemy that I was thinking of making was a sorcerer/necromancer amphibian that is a ranged damage dealer that can spawn poisonous explosive frogs that you must avoid. Now, amidst all this, I updated Unity to version 6, and I was pleasantly surprised that I was able to fix all the bugs and errors that occurred from updating in just one day. Now you may ask why I decided to update to a new version of Unity for my game. It's not a very common or advised thing to do when creating a game, but with Unity 6, they added a much easier setup to multiplayer, as well as a significant increase in graphics performance, both of which I will heavily benefit from. This does mean that I will be able to get a multiplayer build out to all of you way sooner than I expected before. With all that being said, I do still need to get the first early build out to anyone who wants to try this slow and buggy mess, but that will be coming in the next few months, I hope. I have worked on a few other things. For starters, I created a sword that is not yet textured, but I think the upgrade from my last sword attempt is pretty noticeable. And lastly, I've worked a little more on the combat for the game, which is the most important aspect as it's where most of the fun lies. I've been working on adding combos, which are still a work in progress, as I will need to add some sort of stamina/energy based system for things like sword projectiles and other things. And I've still got to add some tongue mechanics to the game, so stay tuned for that. Oh, I also forgot to mention, I have another major change from previous versions that, There's now a jump mechanic for the game as opposed to a dash. Although I do plan to add both of these things into the game, make the combat feel more tactile and flashy, fast-paced and fresh. Once again, I can't thank everyone who supported me enough, whether it's my friends who helped reignite my motivation, or all of you who've stuck around to see the project come to life. I'll have more updates soon, and hopefully a playable build in the coming months. Until then, let me know what you think of the updates, and if you're as excited about Rise of Anura as I am, stick around for the next Froglog. Thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.